Welcome, everybody, back to Giras y Desveladas. This is episode 3. After much ado, for many reasons, we're finally back on track. I want to thank Chris Rodriguez and Powerhouse Studios for allowing us to do this podcast. And we have an awesome guest with us today. And I hope we're going to have a lot of stories about Giras y Desveladas. And like I said, we're going to do a question and answer format. So we're going to start with, what is your name?
You didn't tell me it was going to be this hard. My name is Eduardo Perez. Most everybody calls me Eddie Perez, and from the Valley, from the 956. And I do a little singing. I do a little composing and a little play saxophone and all of that stuff. And I've been in the business since baseball started, more or less, for a long time.
Well, welcome, Mr. Eddie Perez. I am very
Thank
honored to have you here on our show. As you well know, this was part of the idea of having Tejano legends come over and talk to us about their giras y desveladas, because as a daughter of a musician, we know there's plenty of stories from the road, and they need to be told, and they need to stay here for everybody, for your children, for your grandchildren, for everybody to enjoy, for Tejano lovers everywhere that want to know the beginnings of Tejano. And here is one of the legends himself, Eddie Perez. All right, Eddie Perez, thank you for telling me that. So we're doing a question answer format. Tell me, Eddie, what are the bands that you played with?
The first Tejano band, well, I had my own bands when I was a teenager, but we played a lot of rock and roll, and then we slowly crept into Tejano. But back then, we'd play a lot of rock and roll, and what converted me, this is a good story, that converted me to more Tejano was, I was invited to a presentation del Conjunto Hernal, okay? And when I heard the Conjunto Hernal, their professionalism, the voices they had, the trio, that Juan Cifuentes, Manuel Solís, Eloy Bernal, Chacha Jimenez. I heard those guys. I said, man, I want to do this. So that converted me to going more Tejano than playing the rock and roll and, the top 40 stuff, And then I had a stint where I left for the military. I was in the Air Force.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome. For 5 years. And I was thinking of staying in as a career, soldier. But I got a phone call from Oscar Hernandez, okay? One of the top accordion player, next to Stan Jordan, of course, and Chris Rodriguez. And he called me and says, you know what, I started a band, I need a singer. And I had about 2 months left to decide whether to stay in the military or not. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go home. Because I had 2 daughters by then. They didn't know very little Spanish, right? Muy poquito. So, and they didn't know their grandparents and their cousins and their tias and tios. So, you know what? I'm going to go back. So, we left the military and I joined Oscar Hernandez, Los Profesionales. I got home from the military on December 13th. And by the 17th, I was in Chicago already. And I was with Oscar about 2 years. So that was kind of my first Tejano band. And then I had an offer from Los Fabulosos Cuatro. Actually, the Chacha Jimenez was the singer for the Fabulosos right before me, and he was going to go on I think solo. So these guys were looking for a singer, so they asked if I would join up. And then with them, I had a chance to play saxophone because I played clarinet and saxophone, and it's a good opportunity. So I joined the Fabulosos I was with them for about 8 years or so, and that a lot of giras and desveladas with that group. We were all over the nation, man.
Wow, that's a great story. And multi-talented you are, Mr. Eddie Perez. That is so awesome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So, what was your biggest hit? And I would like to mention right now, as a matter of fact, anybody out there who wants to know, he is also a songwriter. And can you tell us a little bit about that right now?
I started writing songs in the 70s. I was inspired by Juan Cifuentes. I worked with Juan Cifuentes about 2 years. Great composer, and I would listen to him. And I would try to see what inspired him. And we had long talks when we were on giras, all over the nation también. And I said, what inspires you, man? And he says, life and death.
And let me just pause right there. You mentioned that you were traveling all over the nation for the younger generation that's not aware. And at that time, which is also like my dad's time, when they were on giras, they were nationwide. We're not talking
Yeah.
about just the Valley or just Central Texas. It was all over the United States.
It was a circuit. You know, we would start maybe a weekend in Texas and then hit New Mexico, Arizona, and then go California, and then we'd go to Washington State, and then travel across to Illinois, Chicago in the area, and then Ohio, and then we'd hit Florida, you know, and then back to Texas, you know. So there was a circuit, you know, and then before you know it, it's time to do it again, you know. So, you know, here you go, you know, we'd drive like to go to Chicago. We'd leave like on Wednesday morning and get over there like Friday noon, something like that, and you know, just it was a lot of work, you know, and we were surprised that there's so many Tejanos and so many people like our music, la Tejano, música Tejana, you know, all over the nation. There still is, you know, there's
Yes.
a lot of festivals that, I mean, they get packed. But there was a circuit back then, you know, and I don't think it exists anymore the way it used to. All the big promoters back then, big salones, you know, I'm talking about halls that held a lot of people, you know.
Yes.
And one little note that I'd like to make, the difference between then and now, the public, back then, the PA systems were not very powerful. Okay, now they have these systems that penetrate, you know, through the walls. Back then, we had the smaller speakers and small amplifiers and stuff like that. People would be real quiet.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yes, real quiet so they could hear the music. And everybody was very courteous and polite. They wanted to hear the music. The only thing you could hear is like their feet,
The feet shuffling
the feet
and the dance.
on the dance floor.
Of course.
You know, but they would be quiet because they wanted to hear the music. And that's one of the big differences.
I love that story. So back to your song that's actually being nominated for a
Tejano Music Award.
Tejano Music Awards.
Yeah. I wrote a song a couple years ago. Se llama Necesito Odiarte. And about a year ago, Mr. J. Perez, the voice, the other voice, did you get it or not? Was looking for music. And I sent him a couple of songs. And he called me back, says, you know what? That song, Necesito Odiarte, is mine. Don't give it to anybody. So they worked up an arrangement on it. He recorded it back about a year ago. Más o menos, he called me and he says, I'm doing a whole CD, dijo, but this song, I'm going to put it out right now. So he put the song out in November of last year, and the CD didn't come out till around April or so, you know. But he put that song out, and it did very well. You know, they had a lot of airplay, you know, and he told me that he got the public, you know, they'd sing along with him and all of this stuff. At this point, the song is nominated for Song of the Year at the Tejano Music Awards, and that's going to be in October. So we'll see what happens.
And as I understand, I believe he's being nominated for a Grammy. The album is being nominated
That
for a Grammy.
CD, which actually has two of my songs on it, it was nominated for a Latin Grammy. The Grammys are going to be in Sevilla, Spain this year in November, and you know, let's see what happens. Hopefully, it wins. You never know.
Well, good luck. And you're already a winner by being nominated, and you're already a winner as far as Tejano music is concerned. So good luck anyway with the song.
Thank you.
Great story. Next question. What was the most interesting place that you performed at?
Wow. They were all interesting because of the public. Pero one of the most interesting places was a salon in Chicago called the Aragon Ballroom. It used to be an opera hall, okay? And, you know, the stage was huge, humongous. It had those little, what do they call them, opera windows? Little places where people, like 3 or 4 people only sit, you know, up there. You know, and people were up there, they were dancing up there, you know, but it held a lot of people. It was beautiful. The curtains, you know, the stage and all the facilities there. And that was one of the most interesting places because I'd never been in a real opera house, you know. And I'm sure it's still standing, pero se llama El Aragon in Chicago. A lot of the bands played there.
I'm getting the visual of in the Selena movie where she's in the white dress and singing, and she's got those with the giant balcony, maybe something like that.
Something like that.
Cool, awesome. All right. What was the craziest thing that happened on the road? Because I know my dad had a lot of stories of crazy things, unbelievable things that happened. What is one of the craziest things that happened on the road?
I can't talk about that.
Okay,
Oh.
that might be for another show, right? Chris Rodriguez?
This is a family show, right?
It is a family show, but
Yeah.
maybe for, yeah. Wait for the Chris show and maybe we can talk about the other stuff.
You said funny, right? Or interesting?
Interesting or funny?
Mm, well, there was one time in Chicago también. We played at a place that you had to take a surface elevator to get up there. Put all our instruments in there, and we got held up. This guy came with a gun, and he started taking our instruments. So it wasn't really funny, but it was interesting. But we actually had a guy that worked for us. It was like a bodyguard, and we yelled at him because he was upstairs. He jumped from upstairs down to the elevator, and he chased the guy down the hallway, and he got our stuff back, and he took the small boxes and stuff, but he went and caught him.
Wow.
So that was one. There's danger. There was
Yes.
danger on the road.
Oh, yes.
Weather
definitely.
related sometimes, and every time you have a dance, there's alcohol and stuff like that, and sometimes people would get crazy. We were at another place in Chicago Heights, and there was a shootout. Okay,
Yeah.
inside some guys were shooting at each other. So this guy hid behind one of those speakers, and if it was, I'd probably still be there. But you had to because you could hear the whizzing of the bullets. And you know what? Nobody got hit.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Yeah. Yeah, there's plenty of stories. People don't realize, I guess people that are not musicians don't realize how actually dangerous the job is. And I know me being daddy's girl, first of all, when my dad would leave, I would cry and cry because I was so scared because I knew that, because he would tell us the stories of the road and there's just so many things that could happen. And it's just, yes, it was something that he loved and that you all do, that you love to do, but there's an element of danger there. You're on the road, you're exposing yourself to so many things, accidents and
The weather.
The weather.
Weather related, playing in the snow and, whether it's snow and ice on the road, and, we're from the valley.
Right.
We never learned how to drive in the ice and snow, so, trying to figure that out was something else, man, so, we had to be really, really careful because we went up there. We'd play up there on New Year's Eve, in Michigan and Chicago and Ohio and all that stuff. And people over there, it's nothing. I was wearing 2 or 3 pair of, can I say underwear? T-shirts and a sweater and a jacket and earmuffs and another leather jacket and all that. And people walking around like just a sweater,
Yeah.
They're used to it. But weather related, we had some situations with weather también.
Yeah, I know my dad would talk about a breakdown that they had while it was snowing, and they had to walk a few miles in the snow before they could get somewhere too. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of elements to that. I'm sure you've got plenty of stories about that as well. Okay, now I'm gonna ask you this question, and people might ask, why am I asking this question? Because I know my dad would talk about going through New Mexico and seeing some weird lights. So my next question is, did you ever see a UFO?
Did I ever see a UFO? No. Not that I remember. No. I never did. Not that I can, it would stay in my mind. I never saw a UFO. No.
Yeah, so
did.
my dad would talk about some weird lights that were following them and then went ahead of them.
Maybe it's the cops.
No, it was above them. Above the
above
cops,
them.
I'm sure.
Helicopter, maybe.
Yeah. So, all right. So that I know I'm sure there's plenty of other musicians out there that might have seen something because you're traveling so much. There's so many things you just encounter that are strange. All right. Were you ever involved in a car accident?
On the road? Yes, actually, yes. In Missouri.
Okay.
We were pulling a trailer, and there was ice on the road, and the trailer followed the ice and pulled us that way, The good thing about it, we just went off the road, though. We went in the lane coming the other way, and everybody missed us, thank God.
Oh.
Pero, it could have been real bad, because we went into oncoming traffic. But we just happened to, nos ayudó Diosito, we didn't get hit, but we did swerve off the road, because of the ice. Back in Missouri.
Yeah, and again, like you say, we're not used to driving around
right.
ice around here, so it's an experience. and something that maybe if you don't know. I remember my dad would say, like, if it starts sliding, put your tires towards the where the slide is going.
Exactly.
And yes, so yeah, that's one of those things that musicians have run into. Did you ever? Because I know we did, and I know you mentioned the gunfight, the gunshots, and the um, getting held up. Did you ever experience any violence or maybe miracles, something weird and strange that happened on the road that normally doesn't happen to other people?
Um, we played at several dances where people died. Natural causes. We had one guy was dancing with his wife and he just collapsed, and he died right there. And then we had another one in California. The wife, the man was dancing with his lady, and the wife came up with a gun and shot. He should have shot her, but he shot the guy. And I mean, when you hear a gunshot, everybody starts running and stuff. And musicians, what do you? I mean, you don't have weapons up there. All you can do is hide behind whatever you can. Until everything settles down. The only thing is, we left. We got our butts out of there because we would have had to stay as witnesses. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So we just kind of walk out slowly, take your instruments, and put them in the truck, and take off. That's all. That's all you can do.
Yeah, yeah. So stay safe and not
Okay.
get involved. Yeah. Um, I know my dad talked about running into some big rock and roll stars on the road, gassing up at a gas station and stuff like that. Did you ever run into some big giant star like besides yourself?
Um, Probably, but didn't recognize them. But the only one I ran into and got to shake his hand was Muhammad Ali.
Oh,
Yeah,
see.
I got to shake his hand, and but other stars, they generally don't go to Tejano dances, But no, I don't remember. Also David Crosby.
Oh,
Remember
well, see, there you
yeah,
go.
I remember David Crosby one time.
There you go.
Yeah, and that's about it that I remember.
That you remember. And I know there's plenty of other stories that you have.
Which we might not go into.
That might be another show. Anything else you want to talk about or tell us about, Mr. Eddie Perez, before we go? And I really appreciate all your time. And maybe we can, set up another time to maybe get some more stories, because I know this is a more formal setting, but that's, just a answering question type. But maybe as we get a little get more situated, you can tell us some of the
Some more stuff.
yeah.
One of the things I really enjoy about Tejano music is composing. To write a song, a good song. There's a lot of people that write songs and they, they're. I don't. I wouldn't write a song like that. I work my songs. You have to get a theme. You have to get words that are pleasing. It's something that somebody has experienced. I've had one song that I wrote, se llama Después del Coraje, and people come up to me and say, you know what, that's me, man. That happened to me. And men and women, that come up. Laura Canales recorded that song, by the way, and I really enjoy sitting down with a song. Sometimes it'll take me months to write one because the ideas leave, or I get busy with something else, and then all of a sudden I'll have a thought. Aha, here we go. And I'll sit down and I'll finish it, And but one thing I really really enjoy is writing songs. I've had, like I said, Laura Canales did 3 or 4 of my songs. Emilio Navaira did one. Rem Herrera has done several. Arturo Montes, Jimmy Edwards, and now Jay Perez, and of course Los Fabulosos. We did a bunch of Linda Escobar did 3 of my songs. And there's one thing I really like. When I send somebody a song, that they like it and they say, you know what, we're gonna do it for you. I'm working on another artist right now. I just sent him a song, and I should know within a week or so if he. I won't tell you who it is right now. He's gonna pick it up or not, but I hope he does.
Keeping us in suspense. Well, I want to thank you again, Mr. Eddie Perez, and I want you to know that my dad thought very highly of you as a vocalist. He was just, in awe of your talent. He looked up to you, and of course, thought of you as a brother, a musical
Yeah,
brother.
as I did to him. I admired your dad, Juan Guerrero, immensely. You know, I met him back in the early '70s, and we just hit it off, man. You know, musicians have this his connection. You know, about music. Some people don't understand what it takes to be a musician. You know, especially when on the road. Este, and there's like a brotherhood and sisterhood nowadays. Este, we have a certain connection. I don't know if it's an extra gene or what that we have, you know, but we speak a different language. We march to a different drummer, you know, and we just connect with each other. You can have make a friend, a musician, and not see him for 10 years, and when you see him again, it's like yesterday, you know. You're just instant friends, and that's the way it is with musicians. You know, we help each other out as much as we can, and because we know the rigors of the road, we know what it's like to go play at a salon, and the weather doesn't help you, and nobody shows up, and then you don't get paid, you know, and you know, and also we know about promoters, you know, que te roban and stuff like that, you know. So you know, we know what's involved, and we still do it, you know.
It's for the love of the
Because
music.
it's in the blood. We can't, you know, you're born with this extra gene, musical gene, and you know, you got to follow it. You got to share it. You know, you got to share it with people. Okay.
That is awesome. And then with that, I think we'll end. I want to thank again Chris Rodriguez, Powerhouse Studios. Thank you for allowing us to have Giras y Desveladas here.
Texas Highway 281.
That's right, Texas Highway 281. And Eddie Perez, thank you again. You're awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Gigi Guerrero, see you soon.